This is a demo session and application walkthrough for the SEQAPay Payments application. SEQAPay Payments application is a fintech solution for B2B financial transactions across financial institutions. The SEQAPay Payments application has two portals, the Admin Portal and the Customer Portal. Admin Portal is a portal which deals with the basic configurations that an admin need to configure for a customer user to be able to use the core functionalities of the application. This is the Admin Portal and this is the Customer Portal. Customer Portal is a portal from which a user first needs to sign up, then sign in and then can use the core functionalities of our application. The core functionalities of our application include funding, payment and conversion. Funding is a process of adding funds to a balance, and payment is a process in which a customer can send money to a beneficiary by using the valid balance, and conversion is a process in which funds can be converted or migrated from one wallet to another. These are the basic configurations or the main functionalities of our application. Next, we can move on to the Admin Portal dashboard. We have already created an existing admin user and we are signing in with those credentials. So in the admin dashboard, a logged-in admin user can see the total details about the total users, companies, transactions, currencies and some basic information, and in the company's dashboard in the companies section, the admin user can see the list of the already created companies and the KYC reviews. The admin can get the information about the existing KYC reviews, whether it is approved or pending for approval, and also in the user's dashboard the admin user can see the details of all the users in the system, and the settings deals with the basic configurations like currency, country, payment configurations, payment methods, payment calculation types, fee configuration, and base currency configuration, which are required, which are the very bare minimum requirements or configurations required for a customer user to be able to use the core functionalities of our application. Next, we can move on to the Customer Portal. For a customer user to use the functionalities of the payment platform, he needs to first sign up to our platform. So a customer should key in the required details for creating an account in our platform. Next, the user can proceed to create the account. Once the user creates the account, he will get a pop-up regarding the successful account creation, and next the customer user can proceed to the sign-in. So he can sign in using the already created user details. Once the customer successfully signs into the Customer Portal, this will be the initial dashboard. So the first action the customer user has to do is creating or registering his or her company. Once a customer user has signed into his account, the next step the customer has to do is to register his or her company, and the company refers to the financial institution with which or representing the customer is planning to do the financial transactions in our platform. So as the first step the customer has to register his or her company. So first he should create a company by entering the company name, and he can select any of the jurisdictions. Next he can proceed to register his company, and once the company has been created, the company created successfully, success alert pop-up will be displayed in the screen. Next the customer user has to go back to the dashboard, and once he moves back to the dashboard, he can see that on successful company creation, he can see a card like the company status is active and the company KYC is pending. The next action the user has to do is to complete the KYC verification. For continuing to the KYC verification, the customer user has to click the Start KYC button. On clicking the Start KYC button, the customer user can see that he has to complete 5 steps. That is the step 1 business information, next business profile, purpose of account, business official, and document upload. All these functionalities or all these steps can be completed only in a sequential manner. That is, only after completing the first step, the customer can move on to the second step and complete the third and fourth, and then so on. So first, we can move to the business information. So in the business information, the customer user has to enter the details of the basic information regarding his or her business information. You can see that the business information has been updated successfully. Next, you need to create the company address and contact details. We can see that the company address and contact details have also been saved. Next, we need to do the complete the sales certification or common reporting or reverse factor. So move on to the same. After saving the same, the customer can move on to the second step of the KYC verification, that is the business profile. In the business profile, the customer needs to key in the details about the business profile of the company. Next, the user needs to key in the details about the source of wealth and expected turnover. Next, the user needs to key in the details about the politically exposed person of the company. After saving these details, the customer user can move on to the third step of the KYC verification, that is the purpose of account. Here, you can select which currencies that his or her company is trying to or planning to transact with and which countries he or she or his or her company is trying to transact with. Next, the user needs to key in the details about the business official of the company. After successfully adding the business official, the customer user can move on to the final step of the KYC verification, that is the document upload. Here, we have a provision to upload the documents. Next, the customer user can upload a sample individual document. Sequential steps of the KYC, the customer user can submit the KYC for verification by that way. Once the KYC has been submitted successfully, we can see a successful alert message on the screen, and also we can see that the company status is active and the KYC status is slowed. Next, the customer user should wait for the admin user to approve his or her company's KYC so that he or she can use the core functionalities of the application. So, once the admin user logs into his account, the admin user can see that there is a newly created company and its status is slowed. So, the admin user should move on to the KYC review section, and after verifying the details, the admin user can approve the KYC. Once the KYC is successfully approved, the customer user can see that in his customer dashboard, the company status has become active and a wallets card has been added. So, the next step the customer user needs to do is to proceed to wallet creation. For creating the wallets, the customer user can select any of the currencies that are available in our application. So, first the customer user can create the wallets in the required currencies. Here, Euro, GBP, and USD are the holding currencies as per our system, and JPY is a non-holding currency. Holding currency is a concept in which these currencies can hold the real account balances in the liquidity provider, whereas the non-holding currencies cannot actually hold the actual funds. So, these are all about wallet creation. Next, we can move on to the basic configurations that an admin user needs to configure for the customer user to be able to use the core functionalities of our application. In the admin dashboard that you are currently seeing in the settings section, an admin user can configure certain configurations like currency, country, payment configurations, payment methods, payment calculation type, fee configuration, and base currency configuration. And moving on to the currency configuration, an admin user can add, update, or edit the currency and country in already existing currencies or countries, or can add a new country or currency in the currency section. And in the country section, an admin user can add a new country, and we also have a list of countries. And payment methods are the methods of payment that correspond to the fees for each core functionalities for our application. That is, here the inbound SEPA and inbound SWIFT corresponds to the funding fee. SEPA and SWIFT corresponds to the payment fee, and margin fee corresponds to the conversion fee for conversion. And payment configuration is a configuration screen in which an admin user can configure one or more payment methods against a particular country and currency. And payment calculation type is a screen in which we can add sub-menus for each payment method. Like for SWIFT, we can add shared fees. For SEPA, we can add shared fees and hours fees. So for each payment method, we can add sub-menus or subcategories for each payment method. Base currency configuration is one of the most important configurations in the context of our application. And for each company, there needs to be a base currency. So we need to create the base currency for our latest created company. We are configuring Euro as the base currency and creating the base currency. We can see that the base currency configuration has been successfully added. Next, we can move on to the core functionalities of our application. And the first core functionality of our application is funding. And funding is a process of adding funds to the wallet. The funding functionality can be done from admin side only. And this can be done by traversing to the company section. And we can go to manage companies. Here, we can already see the predefined details that we did during the KYC process. And we can manage the company wallets, payment fees, IBAN, and transactions. So first, we can move on to the company wallets, where in the previous session from the customer side, we have created wallets for this particular company. And we explained that Euro, GBP, and USD are the holding currencies. And holding currencies are nothing but the currencies that can hold liquid funds, or the currencies that have actual bank accounts in the liquidity provider's bank. And JPY is a holding currency which can have a wallet but cannot hold liquid funds. So the relevance of base currency is that the base currency should be either one of the holding currencies. And for our company, we have selected Euro, configured Euro as the base currency. So if we are doing a funding to a non-holding currency, the amount will be finally credited to the base currency wallet. That's the main relevance of base currency. And also, as per our application, the platform-specific fee currency for our application is Euro. So all the fees will be in Euro. And as discussed earlier, we need liquidity provider accounts for all the holding currencies. And as per our application architecture, we are handling 3 accounts for each holding currency. That is, we are keeping an account for holding account, we are keeping an account for funding, and we are keeping a bank account for fees. So we have already configured the same. We can see that for this company, Tech Corporation Limited, we have created a fee account for Euro, holding account for Euro, and funding account for Euro. And similarly, we have created the same for all the holding currencies. And fee account is nothing but a bank account or liquidity provider account to which the fee entries are being credited. Holding account is the account from which the funds are being debited and credited to the wallet. And funding account is the account the real account which corresponds to the virtual wallet. That's the concept of manage IBAN. And in the company wallet section, we can add funds to any of the selected wallet. First, we can move with funding for Euro wallet. So we need to click into Euro wallet and start with the funding. We can proceed with the funding for Euro wallet. We can click on the Euro wallet and we are currently seeing the funding screen. And the funding screen, we can see that there are 2 types of funding, own funding and third-party funding. Own funding is a process in which funds or money is being added to the wallet from the holding account of the particular currency. For example, in the case of own funding for Euro, the amount will be debited from the holding account of Euro and added to the Euro wallet. Here we need to key in some of the mandatory fields like amount, description, reference, etc. And we need to select which type of fee we need to debit for this particular transaction. In case we are selecting inbound SEPA and we are selecting the transaction data. And first the customer can know the details of the funding by clicking Get Fee. Here it is clearly described or shown that the requested amount is 1,000 euros and the net amount is 990 euros and the fee amount is 10 euros. So the net amount of 990 euros will be added to the Euro wallet once you proceed with the add funds. And the account details shown here is the holding account for Euro. Here we can see that in the Euro wallet, the funds has been added to the available balance of the Euro wallet. And we can see that when we did a funding for 4,000 euros, we can see that the amount of 10 euros funding fee has been debited and the rest of the amount has been added to the Euro wallet. That is the process of own funding. And in case of next, we need to move on to the third-party funding. And the only difference in third-party funding is that the amount will be debited from, rather than debiting the amount from the holding account, the amount will be debited from a beneficiary. And here the payer information is mandatory. And the same steps that we did for the own funding will be done for third-party funding. And the only difference in third-party funding is that there needs to be an approval step in between, since the amount involves the third party or the transaction involves the third party. The next core functionality of our payments application after funding is payment. Payment is a process in which money is being debited from the wallet and is being sent to a beneficiary. So, the main requirement or the main mandatory setting for doing a payment is that the customer must need to create a beneficiary. So, I am currently selecting Euro Wallet for making a payment. And also while clicking on the Euro Wallet, we can see the transaction list here. And in the Add Funds, we can see the bank account details. And in the Make Payment screen, the customer has a provision to create a payment. So, as discussed earlier, it is mandatory to create a beneficiary for successfully creating a payment. And the payment fee will be debited from the base currency wallet. Always the payment fee will be debited from the base currency wallet. And if there is insufficient balance in the base currency wallet for debiting the payment fees, the payment will get failed. In the previously discussed funding scenario, the relevance of base currency is that if there is sufficient balance in base currency wallet for debiting the fees, the amount will be debited from the funding fee will be debited from the base currency wallet. And in case of insufficient balance in base currency wallet for debiting the funding fee, the funding will be done in such a way that the target or the requested amount and the net amount will be calculated in such a way that the funding fee will be subtracted from the requested amount and in the net amount, and only the net amount will be added to the target wallet in case of funding. Now we can check the payment scenario, and the payment scenario as discussed earlier, we need to create a payment. So, first for doing a payment, we need to create a beneficiary. So, I'm keying in the details for the beneficiary. After entering all the details, the customer user can click on the Save Changes and create the beneficiary successfully. After the beneficiary has been added successfully, we can see that the beneficiaries are listed in the Manage Beneficiary screen, and in the Make a Payment, you can select the beneficiary and we can see that the beneficiary details have been successfully shown in the screen. Now we need to enter the mandatory details required for creating the payment, and after entering all the details, we can click on the Review Payment, and in the Review Payment, the user can see or verify all the details regarding to the payment, and there is a OTP verification scenario for payment, and for that we can click on the Generate OTP button and the OTP will be sent to the registered email ID of the customer. Here we can see that we have received the OTP and customer can copy the OTP from his mail ID and he can do the OTP verification. After successfully verifying the OTP, the customer can proceed to creating the payment. Here the customer can see that he got a notification that the payment has been submitted for review, and after approval from the third-party system, the requested payment amount will be debited from the Euro wallet and the payment fee will be debited from the base currency balance, which is again Euro, and the amount will be credited to the beneficiary. This is the payment flow for cross-border payments application. The next main functionality of our application after funding and payment is conversion. Conversion is a scenario of migrating funds from one wallet to another, and there is a provision also to send to a beneficiary. That process is called convert and send scenario. First, we can move on with conversion scenario, and for conversion scenario, a customer user can log on to his customer portal and then click on the wallet from which he need to initiate the conversion, and then he needs to click on the convert funds, and here in conversion there are two scenarios, that is the buy scenario and the sell scenario, and in the buy scenario, the requested amount will be directly credited to the target wallet and the equivalent amount or the converted amount. based on the requested amount will be debited from the source wallet, and also for conversion, the conversion fees will always be debited from the source wallet, and in the sell scenario, the requested amount will be directly debited from the source wallet and the converted equivalent amount of the requested amount will be credited to the target wallet, and as discussed earlier, the conversion fees will be debited from the source wallet. First, we can move on to the buy scenario of conversion. Here, we need to select to which wallet we need to do the conversion, and we need to select the amount and the mandatory details, and if we are not choosing any beneficiary, we can go with the normal conversion scenario, that is conversion by scenario. Here, the requested amount is 100 and the source currency is USD and the source currency is Euro and the target currency is USD and the requested amount is 100 and the rate type is buy. This means that $100 will be credited to the USD wallet and the amount equivalent to the Euro equivalent of $100 will be debited from the Euro wallet along with the conversion fees. Next, we can click on Get Quotes. In this scenario, the user can get a clear idea of the current exchange rates and the converted amounts and so on. So, here the user can see that there is a validity for code and he needs to do an OTP verification similar to the payment scenario. By clicking on Generate OTP, the user will get an OTP notification to his registered email ID, and after verifying the OTP, the user can proceed with the conversion. Here the conversion has been confirmed successfully, and when the user checks the wallet he can see that the equivalent amount has been debited from the UR wallet and the requested amount has been directly credited to the USD wallet since it is a buy scenario. That is the buy scenario of conversion. Next we can move on to the sell scenario of conversion. We can select the same Euro wallet and convert funds and change the rate type to sell and the two currency as USD and the same requested amount as 100, and we are keying in the mandatory details and we are getting the quotes. Here the expected behavior or the expected application behavior is that since the user selected sell as the conversion type, the requested amount will be directly debited from the source wallet, which is Euro, and the equivalent USD amount of 100 euros will be added to the USD wallet, and also the conversion fee will be debited from the Euro wallet. We can proceed to get quote. Here the user needs to do the OTP verification. After verifying the OTP, the user can proceed with the conversion. Here the conversion has been confirmed successfully, and by checking the balance we can see that the USD equivalent of 100 euros has been credited to the USD wallet, and the Euro wallet has been debited with the conversion fees and the requested amount. That's the sell scenario of conversion. Next, there is also a provision to convert and send if there is a beneficiary for the target wallet. If there is a beneficiary for the requested target wallet, the user can also send the money to the beneficiary using the conversion scenario that is called convert and send scenario. Also, we can see the transaction logs of all the transactions in the wallet transactions list. So this is all about the conversion scenario. Thank you.